You have a huge opportunity in 2024 to connect with your audience, but going deeper to reach people who will become your actual customers is going to take a few different shifts. Today, I'll be sharing what those shifts are and some reminders as well, along with specific actions you can start taking today. So if you're ready to start connecting with your audience in 2024, let's get into today's episode. My name is Anne Samoylov, and I've been supporting and strategizing online course launches for clients, myself, and students for over a decade. And I want to help you get your big idea out to the world too. Whether you're a coach, an artist, a consultant, or you just have a course you want to get in front of more of the right people. Well, I welcome you, friend, to the Fearless Launching Show. Let's get into today's episode. Let's dive in today because I'm going to share 5 things, 5 reminders, 5 shifts, 5 mindset shifts, if you want to call them that, 5 perspective shifts on what you're going to need to start doing and understanding as you build your audience, connect with your audience, engage with your audience. These will come up, and they're good things to remember along the way because they're actually changes that you can actually start doing something about. They're actionable. They're not just something that you're going to sit in the corner and think about, right? So shift number 1, your audience are actually on the lookout for lots of different types of solutions. I always say this to people, but no one cares. They only care about their own issue. So you might be sharing all the content, amazing content on something, and your audience members are individually all looking for all sorts of solutions. So it's just good to remember that, I think. And in terms of the amount of things that are in all of our lives that we're trying to make headway on, make progress on, fix, or enhance in some way, just think about yourself and look at all the areas of our lives. So your job is to connect with your audience, connect with people, knowing what one of their problems might be, and support them in the way that is most true to your expertise right now. Because here's the thing, everybody's also going to be on their own timeline. So you can share an amazing list building tip. Someone might not even be ready to build their list, or they're just starting to build their list. But you've got this tip that's going to amp up their list building efforts. Their efforts might not have even started. So what does this all look like? It looks like you putting out content to see what they like, what people respond to, what people comment on. That's what you're looking for, where new people come into the mix. And honestly, I feel like one of the easiest ways, and this is something that I'm seeing, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, is with Reels. You immediately see how many people following you are looking at the Reel and how many more people who don't even know you are looking at your Reels. Now, it doesn't have to be Reels. It can be anything you want. But the point is that you putting out content, which we did talk about content last week. So if you haven't gone through the content strategy and really mapped out what your strategy is going to look like, I would recommend doing that after you listen today, because that's going to actually just get you started putting things out there. One of the things that I've talked about over and over in Fearless Launching is at first, you're just looking for a reaction, because that's actually communication. A like. I know that people call them vanity metrics, but they are a reaction. It is a response. You're looking for those response because they give you the hint to what people are paying attention to. And attention is where that's what you want to focus on. After 30 days, and this is again, I'll be talking more about this later, but after 30 days of putting up a bunch of content, you're going to see, oh, people mostly like that one type of thing. You're going to want to amp up and do more of that type of thing. But at first, you just need to put out helpful content that shares what your values are, who you serve, what problems, what mistakes you see. And we go through this a lot in Fearless Launching, in the Message Lab, in other things that I do. Even in my planning course, I do talk about this. So that's number 1. Just be aware that your audience are looking for solutions of all types. So imagine what that means. You just have to be consistent in what you share and that you are a resource for them. Okay. So the shift number 2, your audience, they're real people and they want to hear your real voice. And one way I teach, again, I'm mentioning little exercises that I do in different programs, but I think that they're valuable to just at least play with a little bit. So this is like an abridged, shorter kind of version of the exercise, but something I do in the Message Lab is really help people get in touch with what their voice is. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is just start talking to people because they want to hear your voice. But I get that some people, including myself sometimes, have a hard time listening to their own voice, talking to people and not having all the feedback in your head going, oh my God, they think I'm stupid. Oh my God, they're disappointed. Oh my God, they just want off this call. There's definitely like a dialogue that can happen. And maybe it's not as destructive as the one I just shared. But here's the thing. If you're not ready to actually open up and speak to people as you meet them, as you engage with them on social media, guess what? You can easily get used to hearing the sound of your own voice. And that's actually the exercise that we do. And I'm going to tell you that all you really have to do is turn on a voice recorder and just start talking as if you're talking to your ideal customer. Tell them what you do. Tell them what kinds of problems you solve, what you see other people doing. Actually, just talk about your business and then listen back to yourself and see what has come out. Because sometimes very stream of consciousness, some interesting things can come out. So get used to doing this for yourself. Also, if you're in a Facebook group that's like a small, more personal Facebook group, ask your friends if you could just go live. Honestly, that's something you work up to if you want to do a Facebook Live or you want to go live on some other platform. That's really putting it out there. But honestly, it is so helpful to do that because you get immediate, very supported attention. Also, in terms of that dialogue, if you've ever been told, oh, just have some discovery calls with people or invite people to get on Zoom or the phone with you or whatever, or maybe you have already done sales calls. Maybe you've done webinars and things like that. That running commentary on how you will measure up to people, it only goes away as you practice and keep doing it more and more and more. And sometimes even then, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, it might seep in if you're having a bad day. Okay, so I think it's just going to be something your voice is going to have to be stronger than that commentary. And I can't say more than just record yourself and talk about your business every single day. Get used to it like you're working out. You're working out your voice. You're working out your voice. Okay, this is a big one. So shift number 3. So we talk about connecting with our audience because it leads to them making a decision, them taking action. But here's the thing we have to remember. Just because I didn't take the action we wanted doesn't mean there's not going to be action. Because the truth is, sometimes you can't predict what the action is going to be. I know you want new customers, new clients, more sales, yada, yada, yada. But every person you connect with can actually lead to someone else along your journey. Maybe someone who's becomes a big client, a potential collaborator, a mentor, a customer, or a friend even. Be open to how that shows up and be open to sharing what you do and who you serve with everyone. Okay? For example, I've actually got a few things on this. I had one customer on my newsletter list when I first was growing my list. And so I was paying attention. I was still letting those notifications come into my inbox. And every single week, I would get a couple people who had their autoresponders on and it would come back. And she was a wedding planner, I believe. See, I still remember it. And this was literally back in 2014 or 13 or something. And I was certain, oh yeah, she never, like when I see those, I assume someone never read the email. That's what was in my head. Then voila, about a year or so later, one day pops up this person's name into my program. And I was like, what? I couldn't have predicted that would happen. So you are not in charge of you've got to just relinquish that control because you showing up the best way you can, connecting will lead to positive things. You just have to be patient. And I hate to say it like that, but because I've been impatient, I've been just like, what the heck? And then 2 years later, they become a client. One more note on this, and this is something that I'm actually creating a training about this right now, but people are inundated with messages and content and communication and emails from everywhere, all sides. So people might be finding out about you out of order. They see your reel. They follow you for a bit on IG. Maybe a few days later, they see another reel. Maybe then they listen to a podcast. Maybe then they see another reel again. Maybe they download something eventually. Maybe they attend a webinar a month later. Control only what you can control, which sadly is pretty much nothing. Even if you have a sales sequence, you're like, I have an automation. They're going to get emails every single day. Well, guess what? You can't even control that inbox because sometimes things will go to spam. Sometimes people will read from the top down, not from the bottom up, which are the older messages. So imagine someone was in your funnel for a week and you've carefully written all these amazing emails. They might just read your chance to join is ending today. And that's where they see it. So you just have to know that you should still create that experience. You should still try to create that experience, but just know that it might not be in your control how it's consumed. This is actually really why I love challenges. I love webinars, because once someone is in that experience, they get to come along for the ride. That interactive part is really key, right? And so if you can find a way to do something like that, invite them to something where they're with you, where they're not just getting like breadcrumbs of different things that other people might be sharing with them and an email that they just happen to see in their inbox. Just those interactive experiences are key. Okay. Shift number 4. We're almost there. We absorb the voices and viewpoints of the people around us. I think that's pretty clear, right? I sometimes hear my teenager playing video games, and guess what? They are, in any given week, it seems like there's like some catchphrase or I sound so old saying that, but like some little thing that they're all saying. And then like a month later, they're saying something else, or they're like singing a song over and over and over again. It's easy to get influenced by outside forces. And so if you're going down the rabbit hole on the regular with insert your favorite influencer, your mentor, or somebody you really just like to follow. But if you go down that, you're like, I'm going to listen to every single thing they've ever published for a week even. And guess what? We start to sound like them. So that's one surefire way not to be sharing your own voice. And I really recommend doing an influencer mentor fast for a few weeks before you start sharing your own content. Now, back when I first started this business and this whole journey, there was a coach, I guess that's an author coach, who I just loved to listen to. I loved her voice. She was like this sage queen that had all of the answers. And I honestly listened to her too much at the beginning. I want to say that right off the bat. I don't actually listen to her really at all now, which is very weird, but that was at the beginning and it served me to some extent. But when I went to write the copy for my first product, which was an ebook, I had to stop myself so many times not to sound like her. And I was even using inflections in my voice like her. Now I know better. I need to cleanse my palate for 2 weeks, listen to no one. Sometimes I just listen to no music with no words, and I just write the sales copy. Now, I will say it's easier to really hone in on your voice and stay solid in that if you are practicing every day talking about your business, if you are really just shutting off the outside world. And one of my mentors, Marie Forleo, another person, she always says, create before you consume. And I think that's such a great piece of advice. So don't go back on the influencer mentor tour rabbit hole before you've done the work you need to do. The stronger your voice is, the stronger you are, the less you'll be influenced by other people. I won't say it won't ever happen, but it sometimes does happen because people want to hear your voice. Just remember that. Number 3. It was the number 3 one, right? No, that was number 2. Your audience actually wants to hear your voice. Okay. Final shift reminder that I want to share with you is that most people think they need to have this clearly, fully mapped out way of talking to people. I'm going to do this on this day. I'm going to do this. And so I get that. I get wanting to have it clearly mapped out. I've talked to you in 2 past episodes about mapping your marketing out, creating like a whole process for your communication and your content. But guess what? When you're first getting started, I think you're missing the chance to connect with someone who needs you now. So as you're making that map, start right away. Post something now. Post something, whether it's about yourself, whether it's about your experience doing what you do, whether it's advice, whether it's just a random tip. Start right now. Now, starting this month, back in January, which was so long ago, happy February, by the way, I simply started posting reels most days. And now I'm posting every single day. I was playing, not thinking. I'm still playing. I'm still having fun with it. I'm not overthinking it. I'm not planning too far in advance. Getting a little hung up on the fact that it's highlighting the fact that I stay in my house a lot, but I'm letting that go for now and looking for some new places to create some video. But I'm really just picking hooks. I did make a hook list. I spent some time doing that, just like a list of things that maybe I wanted to share. But every single day I pick what that is. And some days I don't even look at the list. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. If you go to my reels right now, you'll see that I actually posted on the day that I'm recording this, that I listened to the edit of the podcast and didn't like it. And so I was like, I'm just going to re-record. And literally, this is me re-recording. Okay. The podcast was ready. I decided to re-record it. So it's going to be out late today, but heck, it's better that I'm happy with it, right? But you can see I just decided to go in the moment and do it. So right now it's very experimental and I don't have a chance I call myself cheesing out. I don't have to have a chance to say, I'm not going to post today because I don't feel good. I recommend you do this too. Just take some time, just take some video of just random stuff. Just take video off your phone and create some reels, but base it around what you do. Talk about who you are. Talk about your thoughts about different things or what you've seen clients do. Try to think of something that will be valuable or useful to someone, or maybe inspirational or aspirational. And that is it. And you know what? Great thing is you can join me. If you do some reels, if you do some Instagram posting, because I find that that's great. That's easy. You're able to get a reaction or not reaction fast. So if you post something over there, tag me. Before you post anything, you can actually tag me right away and I'll see it. So in Reels, you can tag me and you'll end up on my tagged video page. And that way I can see what you're doing. Anyways, it's just an idea, but I say get off the stump if you're sitting on something and just start posting as you're creating your map. Okay, so those are the 5 shifts, 5 reminders. You can go back through them again and just remember that these are real people. They're all on their own timeline, on their own schedule to figure out and solve the different things in their lives. They want to hear your voice and you can't control the outcome, so don't even try. You can't control when they see stuff, so don't even try. But you can control getting out there, being there, showing up, okay? And so even as you're working on your content map from last week, which I'm going to put all the links from the last episodes right underneath this episode, just so you can look at that. And you can just get started, okay? Thank you for joining me today on the podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube, because I've got some other stuff that's coming up and I don't want you to miss it. If you're not into YouTube, that's fine. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or somewhere else, that's fine. Follow there as well, because you'll at least know about it. And maybe you'll get the audio version and you'll head over here and have some fun on YouTube. Also, One more call to action. Head over to Instagram. And again, if you start posting stories, reels, any sort of content at all, tag me in them and message me. If nothing else, guess what you're doing? You're practicing connecting, and you can do it with me. I'm a safe space for you, okay? All right. Folks, that's it for today. We've got more resources for you in the description or show notes, so make sure to check those out, and I will see you next Thursday.